Oh, yeah, it looks like we are live. So, yeah, here we are. Cool. Um,
Sweet.
cool. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Everybody hear us okay? Cool. So, let's see here. So we have another one of our other members is going to be joining us here in a little bit. He is running a bit late, and then he'll be joining the live stream as well to kind of help myself out, Mad Dog over here, and answering your guys' questions and talking Star Wars and what have you. So, does anybody have any questions they've been dying to have answered or anything like that? You guys can address them in the chat log right here if you guys have any questions. Han has a daughter now.
Dude, I told you they were gonna ask like right away.
Yeah. Yes, Han currently in episode 7 has a daughter. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. What her role is in 8 or 9, cannot say. But yeah, Han does have a daughter in episode 7. We won't see her until episode 8. She's not really mentioned too much in episode 7. Actually, I'm not sure she's mentioned at all in episode 7. But you will definitely know about her in the first 30 minutes of episode 8. Yeah. Yep. And her name is still Jaina. So the Solo twins are now probably going to be Ben and Jaina.
I like that.
But yeah.
Or too. Bringing back, like, it's so weird that like out of all the Skywalkers, there was only one kid from the original trilogy. It's nice having, I don't know, it's weird, but it's nice having a sibling.
Yeah, that was something that Disney should have jumped in and made happen, but they didn't because I don't know, they hate people. I mean, they had to know the expectation was like they had to know the expectation was going to be, yeah, we need a daughter, like, you know, like Han and Leia are going to have children, you know, not just one. They had to know that was the expectation from the fans, and then they just kind of shat all over that and said, no, we're not going to do that. So yeah, but that's something that when we as we started going through the different edits and kind of going through the different ideas that we had, that was one that was constantly brought up, was like, you know, there should be a daughter there, and then how to integrate her in a way into the films that it felt right, and it felt like it had a place. Because sometimes, like, you got, like, when you're watching like a film that has like fan service or whatever, a lot of the times the stuff is kind of shoehorned in, you know, like it's and if it doesn't have like a real impact, then there's kind of like no point. Like what was the Shazam, right? You saw Shazam?
Oh yeah, I saw it.
Yeah. So like the very end, right? Like Henry Cavill Superman shows up, but like you don't see his head, like you don't see his face. You know what I mean? Like it was just there just to be there. Like there was no point. So yeah, when you're trying to like film, when you're trying to, you know, add something in, it has to be added in a way that's going to be organic and it's going to fit the story, not just kind of shoehorned in there. So Renegade Film Force is asking, where are you guys based? I'm flying out next month to collab with Mike Starwalker. Are you in the same area of Texas? So Mad Dog's in Texas. He's a Texan. I grew up in Texas, but I don't live in Texas. I live in Spain. Another one of our guys here, actually, geez, well, one of them lives in England, one of them lives in France, one of them's in India, and then we're talking to some Scottish fellas, right? That wanna.
Yeah, is it the Hobbit VFX? Is that the
Yeah.
Scottish guys? Yeah, we've been teaming
Yeah.
up with them for a lot of our VFX work. I've
Yeah.
been
So they're
coordinating with them, and I need to get with them a little more to talk game plan for some of the shots we're working on.
yeah. The new episode 7 battle is a big one. The space battle that we're doing for episode 7. Yeah, and then like I said, we've got a guy out in India who hooks us up a lot. His name is Akshay, and he's really, really great. We have a guy named David out in France that's hooked us up quite a bit. Peter over at Petrovelli has worked with us quite a few times on a few different shots. But yeah, Mike's a great dude. And he's super, super professional. And he's just beyond talented. And he's a great dude. Like, yeah, he's super cool. Unfortunately, you won't be able to get to meet Mike Skykiller. I think it was what he went by, which was his old I guess like training partner. He actually plays Kylo Ren for the fight that we've recorded for episode 8. That's currently in production right now. Well, it's in post production now. But yeah, no, Mike's a great dude, and you're gonna absolutely love working with him. He is awesome. Sup, Lee? How are you, kind sir? Dark Winter, you haven't missed anything, man. We just started about 6 minutes ago, so just kind of answering some of the questions that were being asked here in the chat. So, Bat Fan, I must ask, are you filming new stuff with Jaina or no? Mad Dog, are we filming new stuff with Jaina?
Are we? I don't. I wasn't specified on what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not allowed to say. Okay. I think yes. I think that's the goal right now.
There's a film company called Freeze Frame. You might know them from the Kylo Ren versus Vader fan film that came out, and they may or may not be working on some stuff.
Yeah,
maybe involving that character. Maybe
that'll be super cool. They're the same guys who made that Star Killer, or not Star Killer, the Kylo Ren short film, right?
Yep, that's the guys. Yeah, the one in the forest where they fight Vader.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be sick.
Yeah.
That'll
So, I mean, that's very, very early stuff right now. I don't think any cameras have rolled yet. Because obviously, you may or may not know those guys are based up in Scandinavia, and Scandinavia is very expensive. So trying to film new stuff in Scandinavia is very, very expensive. And so obviously, we have to kind of rely on support from the fans to kind of get that stuff done. So that's one of those things where we're definitely looking to get it done sooner rather than later. But right now, honestly, that's kind of more episode 8 type stuff. Right now, the big focus is on episode 7. We've got a few new shots that we're still working on. There's a big space battle, a really big space battle that's going to be happening in episode 7 that wasn't ever in the films, that we have planned out and thought long and hard about. I would say we had a lot of meetings over it. I mean, we actually just posted a shot the other day that Mad Dog completed. That's a pretty cool shot. Yeah, the response for it was really good. So,
yeah, we just completed making our first order TIE fighter models too, getting those all film and accurate. One of the things is we go through like the models that we're using, like we're very tedious with how they look and that they represent what's being shown on screen. And we just finished what are these? The Special Forces TIE fighters. So we'll be using those in our next couple of shots.
Yeah, that was Ben over at Praxis VFX. So he actually worked on the Vader fan film from Star Wars Theory. He did some of the stuff for them, and he is the one that died. He modeled a brand new Special Forces TIE fighter just for the sequence, and then he's also hooking up with Mad Dog here, and he's going to be basically making. It's an absolutely massive space battle. There's a lot of really interesting parts. It's going to answer a few questions. Obviously, a lot of people in episode 8 didn't like the fact that the Resistance was using the Star Fortresses. And a lot of questions are like, well, why wouldn't they use like Y-Wings, or why wouldn't they end up using, something else? Why do they use these Star Fortresses that, just fell apart at the first shot from a TIE fighter, right? Well, we're going to learn why that's what they have to use from this space battle. Jade Squadron is going to be featured in it, and it's going to be pretty awesome. So, yeah, we are all over the place. Yep, we are everywhere. Very multinational.
Oh yeah, we're everywhere now.
We're everywhere. Yeah, and we are. Yeah, we're definitely pumped as well. Yeah,
we're like the Galaxy Fleet, going after. It's just people from everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely pumped as well. I wish your stuff was making. Yeah, the sad part about that is, if Disney had kind of paid attention and sort of read the room before they made the sequels, then we wouldn't even need to be doing this right now, to be honest with you. Actually, before 7 came out, there was a lot of questions about what they thought Luke would be doing, and seeing basically the old trio back together again, and I think it'd be kind of stupid to assume that Disney didn't know what fans wanted to see with the sequels. They knew that Dark Empire was a huge deal. They knew that the Thrawn trilogy was a huge deal, and they knew that those projects resonated really well with the fans. So then to say, hey, let's scrap all of that and we'll just pick and choose a few things that have some sort of semblance to those stories, but we're going to do our own thing. I think that's probably a pretty dumb move on their part.
Oh yeah, and I think this was Kathleen Kennedy. It was in an interview. I need to find where I can cite my source, but she claimed that there was no reference material for any of the sequel trilogies, which is just not true. You had the Thrawn trilogy. You had so much of the expanded universe to reference to, and you could have seen reviews of what worked and what didn't work, and kind of use that as a launch pad. I'm not saying you have to copy those verbatim. I don't think any Star Wars fan, even those who diehard love the series, would want to see that just adapted to live action. I think people were interested in a new film, a new take on the sequel trilogy, but not the way it was executed.
Yeah, I think it's sort of like when you read your favorite book, and then what's the Two Towers from Lord of the Rings, right? They didn't do a solid adaptation of that. There was a lot of stuff they left out, but it's still the fans loved it, and I think that Disney could have easily taken Dark Empire or Thrawn and not done a page for page adaptation, but maybe a loose adaptation where hey, here's some familiar story beats, here's a lot of new stuff, right? But I think that would have probably gone over a little bit better with the fans overall.
For sure.
Horror Freak asks, or what'd you say? Recently subscribed, and so glad I did. We are glad you did too. Expected release dates for all 3 cuts. Honestly, man, that's kind of up to you guys. We're fan funded, so the more fans that help us out, the quicker it gets done. We originally wanted to release our episode 7 about 2 years ago, but it just didn't happen. There's a lot of work that has had to go into episode 7. And it is the least needing of fixes out of all 3. Solo, we won't even go there because the film was shot so darkly and there's so many issues with it. Solo is actually is the one that needs the most work, to be honest with you. But with 7, there's with 7, it's a lot. It's trying to make Ren more of a villain. It's trying to kind of reduce Rey as this sort of know it all, powerful with everything, and kind of give her some. I mean, Rey needs to have a character arc, right? She doesn't really have that in the sequels as they are from Disney. So it was really important to us that we kind of establish a character arc for her, and part of that means she can't start out all super powered and know all kinds of stuff. Like there's got to be problems that she encounters and stuff. So we are. Well, I mean, what would you say for 7? About 80-90% finished?
I would say 90. I mean,
finished?
we have the Jakku that needs to be worked on, where you could see in the trailers where we're adding foliage to some scenes, and then we're adding mountain ranges to really just break up the mundane desert planet and trying to make Jakku more of a memorable planet than and not make it like Tatooine. Yeah. And then we have the Starkiller base fight, the space battle, that is incorporating a lot of new assets, and it's bringing the war back to Star Wars for that final scene. It didn't really make sense how, like, just a good or Black Squadron. I think it's Black Squadron, Red Squadron, and then maybe Blue. I don't know. They say R1 and then B1, so that's Black and then Red. Both attack Starkiller base in the original film, but they essentially boil down to a good chunk of X-Wings. And it's like, as much as that's a fun homage to the original, we want to, like, bring the big battles in. Like, this is number 7. This is movie number 7. And the battle doesn't even relate to, like, some of the ones that we saw in Clone Wars that were supposed to be smaller skirmishes.
It's kind of funny too, right? Because if you think about it, like if you look at like a film like Rogue One, that's not really in like the saga, the numbered episodes. Like the Battle of Scarif is like probably like the absolute best space battle in the series. Obviously than like Jedi and like the opening of 3, but I mean like it's really, really, really cool. Like, and the way that it's paced really, really well, and there's lots of loss of life as far as like the pilots, like people, there's like there's a real toll on the forces that we see there, and you don't really get that in 7, do you? I mean
they have a lot of really cool sequences. There was a lot of really great ideas there that I think Rogue One took from. For example, you have a shot in episode 7 where like you have the GoPro cams that are attached to the X-Wings, and you get to see the atmosphere and the exhaust like flying through. What's up, JX? And they did a lot of that in Rogue One, but there's a lot of cool stuff that we can implement that just hasn't been seen in a Star Wars movie, that adds a lot of depth to a battle that the sequel trilogy, ironically, with the exception of episode 8, that kind of explored like shields and how shields work in Star Wars.
Yeah.
The sequels have just fallen pretty flat in their battles.
Yeah, I mean, we can't really share a whole lot about the episode 7 space battle because it's going to be awesome. But what we can say is there's a sequence involving an airlock that's going to be pretty damn awesome.
Oh, dude.
It's going to be pretty damn awesome when you guys see it. You're gonna love it. But yeah, so I mean, it really is going to be, it's a question of when we can get the work done. We're also looking at adding a few more creatures into episode 7. Some different animal life to kind of again differentiate it, because how many do we have right now? You got Tatooine, that's a sand planet. You got Pisana, that's a sand planet. You got Jakku, that's a sand planet. You got Jeddah, that's a sand planet. Is there another one?
Sorry, what was the question? I was thinking about something else.
There's like 4 sand planets, and they all look the same.
Oh yeah, yeah. You have. So yeah, I don't want to create another list. I'm sure you hit them all. But yeah.
Yeah, so like kind of bringing some differentiation to that is something we really want to do. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Another question I got to ask: are you ever scared of Disney bringing the Death Star and shooting down this project? No, we're not. Reason being is everything we're doing is legal. And if not, I will make it legal. No, I'm just kidding. No, everything we're doing is legal. yeah. So the thing about fair use and edits and all that stuff is the main thing is you can't charge money for them, which we're not doing. You can't be seen to be distributing, which is really where you essentially make things available for download. The idea of streaming as a form of distributing isn't really settled, so we're fine there. So no, we're not worried about it. In actuality, we've actually been contacted by a number of Disney employees, and we've even been contacted by some of the voice actors from Clone Wars, who have told us how much they love what we're doing. So we're not in the least bit worried about any of that. We've even been contacted by some fan favorite actors that you guys would probably know, but we're not going to mention their names here because we've given them our word, but we won't. But they also love what we're doing, and they're very excited about it. So don't have any fears or issues with that at all. Infinite possibilities. Hello there. Hello there. Need to get Obi-Wan impression. Tamer5, what's up, Sith? What's up, my dude? Glad to see you over here. Cameron Murphy asks, how do you plan on changing the end of Kylo Ren's arc? How do you plan on changing the end of? Well, don't want to give that away too much.
Yeah, that's something I think they're just gonna want to see. That's that. We've talked about Kylo Ren's arc and how it's going to end, and it's pretty badass at it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're on Subscribestar, you already know. But for the guys that kind of don't want to know that, want to kind of keep it a surprise. But part of the reason that it was so important for us to make Kylo Ren more of a villain in 7 and 8, and he's very much more a formidable villain. The reason we wanted to do that is because that way the arc has more weight, and the way Kylo ends up going from the dark to the light, I think I don't know. I think it's more poetic. I think it, like Lucas says, it rhymes. There's some stuff from the earlier films that you're gonna see that and you're like, oh yeah, that's kind of sort of like this. It involves a certain someone that kind of really brings Ren back to the light. It's a pretty cool idea, to be honest with you. Jaden Core, hello there, guys. I wish I could join, but I'm at the beach right now. Dude, it's too hot for the beach right now. It's like miserable. It's so hot. Even my dogs don't want to go outside. Let's see. JX Editor, hey, Mad Dog. Hey, Mad Dog. Infinite possibilities. Jeddah looks unique, at least. Some of the stuff on Jeddah does look unique, like the kind of like the big plateaus they have that rise out of the ground, where they have like the cities, stuff like that.
I do like the Jeddah City is probably what makes it the most unique. But on top of that, having just the smallest bit of lore that it's a kyber crystal mining planet is super cool, and seeing like the statues of fallen Jedi is so neat. Versus like Pisana will always bug me because you could have made that planet anything. You could have made it anything, and you chose a desert planet. Jakku, I kind of understand because the entire movie is an homage to the originals, so I can give it some grace there. But Pisana that one's a struggle. Whereas Jeddah, that one's also pretty cool. I'm down.
I would love to see, like, I guess, new. I mean, I will give it like the Kenobi show. Whatever that planet was that Vader and Kenobi fought on that fight at the last episode.
Oh yeah, that one was legit.
That one looks pretty cool. Like you said, like the big planet or moon in the background. Like, it would be really really awesome to see more planets, more variety. I mean, like even when you go play like Battlefront, like you get all these planets that are like different variety, all kinds like biodiversity. I mean, and now you get the mouse in charge of Disney, or in charge of Star Wars. I mean, they got billions of dollars. I'm sure they could figure out a way to, make planets look different. But also, if you look at 9, it was so rushed. Quick, where can we film? I don't know. Let's go to Jordan or whatever,
Yeah.
you know, or Saudi Arabia. We'll film there. It's cool. We'll get like tax breaks.
They probably still had paperwork from when they filmed there in Rogue One that made that process just super easy. I guarantee you, it's probably a behind the scenes thing.
Yeah.
For why they chose that location.
Yeah. One thing I would like to see. What were you saying?
I have heard of like other editors turning Pisana into Jeddah, and I don't think we've talked about it at all. But that might be something we have to consider. If people like that idea, where we add in Jedi statue. There's a comic book that shows Jeddah is half destroyed, so it's not fully destroyed. But I don't know. Just an idea.
I think what I would personally like to see is them use Iceland more.
Oh,
they used Iceland at the beginning of Rogue One, and I've been to Iceland twice.
Dude, and, Lamu is so pretty.
Like if they found a way to use Iceland again, and maybe because it's so alien looking there. I mean, like the whole it's just a very alien looking country, There's a lot of just weird formations, like everything is black sand and like volcanic rock. I don't know. I just feel like they could really use Iceland as one of the more unique landscapes on the planet to create new planets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think out of all the sequels, I think Crate was probably one of the coolest and most original with the
red crystals and all that.
Had the homage to Hoth, but other than the color white, I don't see too big a connection.
Yeah.
I mean, people have compared it with the Walkers, but as a landscape alone, like just having the red dirt and everything, that was such a cool planet.
Yeah, it was kind of cool to see visually. Did you give Claude a bigger role? Yes, actually, the Rise of Skywalker, Claude is the Skywalker that rises. He doesn't have any arms, but it's okay because he has the Force.
Johnny, did I tell you I have a model of Claude?
Why would you have a model of Claude? Why would you do that?
Well, it was another YouTuber I made an intro for. He's a big defender of Star Wars sequels.
Okay.
And I was like, I was trying to add stuff to my portfolio for VFX stuff. So I was like, I'll make him. Let's see if he wants an intro. And a big thing is he loves Claude. So I have a 3D model of Claude.
Interesting.
So we can. This.
We could have like a portion where, like, when they break through the ice wall there, with Chewie and Poe, and then all of a sudden, like the ice like cracks like a window on the Falcon, and Claude just gets sucked out the window, but it's really slow, like Alien Resurrection, where it gets sucked out a small hole. Just like spaghettification or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we could do Claude off big world. Yeah, sure, why not? Star Wars Story. Hey guys, how's it going? Hello there, Star Wars Story. Do you guys have a Discord? Yes, we do, but it's for our Subscribe Star members. Infinite Possibilities. How are you guys going to make Anakin taking over to defeat Palpatine? I love the idea, but most, if not all, the edits I've seen are unrealistic, or it's obvious that's not part of the movie. That's not to say I'm trying to shit on each other's edits. It's just clear that an edit and it's not part of the movie. Yeah. Well, that's where you actually have to shoot new footage. There are a few editors out there that I would say, me personally, would say that they actually, it was a solid effort. Like what's the one with the ghosts and all that?
Oh, you're talking about John H.
Yeah, so like that one was really, I thought that was really inventive. Honestly, I kind of, when I was going into the film, I thought that was going to happen, because when you're talking about the Rise of Skywalker, there's one Skywalker that the entire saga is central to, and that's Anakin. So I thought Anakin was going to come back that way. So obviously the title is very misleading. But yeah, no, we're going to be shooting all new footage for that sequence. We've already got all the voice work done for the entire sequence. There's David is actually going to be, so we're building a digital model of Exegol, because the stuff we need to do for that sequence, the footage does not exist. But when Anakin returns, it'll definitely, I guess like the best way you could say is like Super Saiyan Anakin. You know, like he's crossed into the Force, right? And then there's a reason that he doesn't show up in 7 or 8, and that is all explained. That's why he doesn't show up. That's all very much explained. And when he does show up, he is so there will be no question left that he is the chosen one. The prophecy only says that he's going to destroy the Sith. It doesn't say how he's going to do it. It doesn't say that he needs to be alive to do it. It doesn't say anything. It just says that he's the guy that will ultimately and truly destroy the Sith, which is why Episode 9 breaks canon, because if Rey destroys the Sith, well, then the Sith are still around. Because if Rey's not the chosen one. So if Rey kills Palpatine, well, then Palpatine's going to come back because she's not the chosen one. Only the chosen one can actually destroy the Sith once and for all. And so that's why Anakin has to be in Episode 9 in order to honor the 8 films that have come before it, and the story that Lucas began telling. So, but I'm actually moving to the UK in September. And once we get there, our goal is actually to build a film studio, so that we can film all the stuff we need to film, because as we've worked on the edits, it's become more and more apparent that, you know, you need new scenes, you need new close-ups. The battle over Star Killer, for example, we need shots for pilots. You know, we need pilots reacting, and we don't have that. And you reuse footage to a certain extent, like from like deleted scenes and stuff. But after that, you actually have to start making your own stuff, you know, because there's just not enough content. I mean, like, they're never going to release the deleted scenes from Episode 9, and I think the reason they're going to do that is because it would show just how a mess in production that film was. I mean, you know, they were like, what was it? Daisy Ridley said that like the day before they shot it, they were like, "Hey, what would you think about being Palpatine's daughter?" Like, they didn't even know her origin, which is nuts. This is like the biggest movie of the year. It's going to end like a 40-year-long saga. How do you not have a plan?
Or at least the bare bones of a plan. Like, I get, like, so the original trilogy, they were trying to copy what the original trilogy did. But they had the bare bones of a plan. George Lucas made one movie, and they said, "This is very convoluted, George." And he broke it down into one movie, or broke it down into a smaller movie, and then took the other 2 pieces, the middle and third act of that film, and turned it into 2 more movies.
Yeah.
But those were directed by 2 different people. George directed.
I think he produced them, didn't he? He produced them, didn't he?
He was right there along. He was making very creative and executive decisions. But they tried to do that same thing where they were like, "We're going to have a different director for each film and just let them kind of tell their own story," which that just doesn't sound very, very wise, especially with an IP like this. I mean, you can give your directors creative and executive choices, but to have them just like try and create something based on what the past person created without an overarching plan is just kind of silly and unprofessional.
I think it's an idea of like a sandbox. Like, you know, you give the director, say, "Hey, this is the sandbox. You get to play in it, but you can't play outside the sandbox."
Right.
You know, and the problem was J.J. Abrams, to a small extent, in Episode 7 played outside the sandbox. Rian Johnson essentially took the sandbox and threw it out. And then J.J. Abrams came back, filled the sandbox up, and then played outside the sandbox anyway. You know, it's just, you know, they should have had I guess the thing that is really, I guess, frustrating about all of it is that there was already a sequel trilogy plan ready to go. You know, like Lucas had already given us a story treatment for 3 films, and that involved obviously Darth Maul coming back and being like this crime lord, and it involved Darth Talon and all this other stuff. But I mean, you know, if you look at the information that's been leaked about Lucas's original sequel trilogy treatments, it's just it's nothing like what he would have done, and it's a shame because, you know, maybe people wouldn't have liked it, but at least the story would have been complete, you know. So
it would have been under one vision.
Yeah. Let's say here, Zashi Studios. I hope I'm saying that right. Zashi. Exashi? I don't know. Hello there. Hello there. Infinite Possibility said, "I know some people tried changing Jakku to Tatooine for those who like Rey Skywalker. Maybe something like that could work. I don't know." I mean, it probably could have worked before we started doing all the changes to Jakku that we've made. We've made a lot more changes than what you've seen in the trailer. So yeah, I don't think that would work now for this edit, but maybe some other fan editors, got time on their hands, they can do it. Zashi Studio says the fact that you guys are actually using CGI to your advantage is great, especially with how accessible it is nowadays. Yeah, I mean, we've kind of built a really solid team from the guys we work with. If you guys have seen the new Sonic movie, Sonic 2, one of our VFX artists, X Shay, he actually animated it and did a lot of work on Tails, believe it or not. So, yeah, very professional and very talented. One of the guys we work with, David, worked on Interstellar and he worked on Wonder Woman. So that also brings a lot of talent to the pool. And obviously you got Mad Dog here. He's works in video production day in and day out. This is like his bread and butter. And then, I mean, let's see. Lou is, he's been working in VFX for a while now. Oliver, which is a guy we've worked with a few times in the past, he's got a lot of VFX experience. And then Ben over at Praxis Visuals or Praxis VFX, he worked on Star Wars Theory, and he's also phenomenal at everything he does. So, yeah, I mean, it's just really, when we started it was kind of like putting feelers out. Actually, I think you actually sent us the email, or did we send you the email?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I got in contact with you guys.
That's right. Yeah. So we actually
I haven't worked on any big budget films, so
we actually a lot. I mean, when we first started out, it was a hunt to try and find like VFX artists that kind of had the passion for Star Wars, and then there is a great divide between the people who love Star Wars and who. There's a great divide between people who love the sequels and who really dislike the sequels. I would say probably a quarter of the VFX artists we worked with, they don't mind the sequel trilogy. Well, they don't mind 7. They don't mind 7. 8's where people started to get really kind of divided on it. And then 9, I think everybody's sort of everybody's sort of a dumpster fire. but it's really about finding people who are kind of like-minded and who want to see the films improved or changed. And even if you do like the sequels, there's the opportunity to maybe see them in a new way, see them again, experience them newly for the first time, because there's going to be a lot of different changes. Yeah, there's been a ton of changes, hasn't there? I mean, really, like there's.
Oh yeah, and then you have people like me who I like all Star Wars. I like all of them. Now that sounds like I'm lying, but no, it's 100% true. I love Episode 9 just as much as I love the originals, and that goes same for like Episode 1. That doesn't mean I don't want to see them from a different point of view.
Yeah,
I think that's what's gonna fix them per se. So
yeah,
but being able to put our own thumbprint on it, to have a fan's point of view on what this story is, I think is going to be something pretty magical, and that I think a lot of other fans are going to be able to connect with on a deep level.
Yeah, I think maybe part of the goal here is to almost find a middle ground here, where like people that really liked like Dark Empire and Thrawn trilogy and all that, and people who didn't like the sequels, and the people who did, when they watch these edits, they'll all come to the agreement that, hey, we all like these, versus some of us don't like these and some of us don't like those. I mean, you can't please everybody, can you? But at the end of the day,
I mean, we know we have a niche audience.
Yeah,
that's the people we're going after.
Yeah,
that's the people we're trying to make happy. And at the end of the day, we're just trying to, we're fans ourselves. We want to see these fixed, and we want to see what these films and what this story could look like at its fullest potential, and when it fits in the sandbox, as you said. So things that Rian Johnson and JJ, where they stepped out of line or didn't do things that were as creative as they could be. We're trying to streamline that process to
kind
of just like do a lot of tweaks and then do a lot of necessary changes as well.
Yeah, it's almost like taking. I think everybody on team kind of agrees with the statement that, like, in general, like the sequel trilogy, there's good bones there. Like if you look at just like the overall, like if you were to have like a one sentence summary of episode 7, a one sentence summary of episode 8, and a one sentence summary of episode 9, I think everybody would be like, yeah, that sounds great. That sounds pretty good. It's just that the details and the way they went about doing it, I think, is what left a lot of people perturbed.
Yeah,
I think. What were you saying?
The execution of it all, and then
yeah,
a lot of the uncreative decisions that it kind of goes back to the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, where you had George Lucas kind of like running everything, and there was a lot of yes men on his team that would just be like, Jar Jar Binks, yes, that's genius, go for it.
Yeah.
No one went, this is kind of silly. No one looked at it critical because it was Star Wars, and I think you had the same effect here.
Well, it's like what.
No.
I was to say, it's like that behind the scene. If you saw the behind the scenes of episode 1, where he brings Steven Spielberg out there, and he's showing him around like the back lot, and they have like the tanks for the droids, and they have like the droids standing up, and Lucas is like, it's gonna be great, and Spielberg's like, yep, it's gonna be great, and Lucas, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be great, like, and nobody challenged him. And I think Marsha Lucas, who was George Lucas's ex-wife, she, they're divorced now, or whatever, but she was one of those people that was like, no, this isn't,
Yeah,
and we needed a guy like that for the sequels.
That's how the story is told. I don't know if it's fact or myth, but the story is told that the first draft of A New Hope was hot garbage.
Yeah.
And George Lucas's wife at the time was one of the head editors, and we could say the original re-editor. She went in, cut stuff, and cut a lot of unnecessary dialogue. I think that's probably the biggest weakness of George Lucas's writing. He knows how to tell a fantastic world and how to explain an overarching story, but when it comes down to like simple dialogue, I say simple, it's more tedious than people give it credit for. We're just so used to hearing good dialogue, but that's where he kind of struggles. But you have the same thing where Pisana, I'll always go back to Pisana, where it had to be some kind of behind the scenes issue, but no one said another sand planet, this is going to be genius. Like,
they probably just had like a leftover sand backlog.
It's because you're talking to your boss and you're like, no, boss, that's great. Yeah, good job. Yeah. I'm not going to tell. There's a lot of people who want to critique their boss.
Yeah, it was needed. Indefinite Possibility says, I like the idea to show that Tatooine is sort of returning how it was before, a desert, like how Book of Boba Fett kind of alludes to its original form before it all became sand. Yeah, I mean, we didn't know what was going to be in Book of Boba Fett, but yeah, the idea is definitely to kind of give it some vegetation and not make it lush and green, but definitely differentiate it. And yeah, that fits into canon too. Yeah, it's kind of going back to how it was. Will you allow people to use your final work for other people's edits whenever they're released? Yeah, that's fine. It's going to be watermarked, but if people want to use it anyway, that's fine. Batfan KGB. I wish I could find a way to help out. Yeah, man. Subscribe star or just sharing videos and telling people about it. That's the easiest way to do that. Star Wars Story. Where can I donate to your project? Do we get any rewards or sneak peeks? Also, I would love to collaborate with you guys sometime.
What a great question.
Yeah, so our Subscribe Star is where we post everything. So, for example, the shots we posted of the sequences for the bit with Star Killer, that's there. All the new reworked footage of Yoda from episode 8, where he actually looks like Yoda, that's on there.
I have it open, and I can quickly scrolling. Y'all have the VFX of Kylo Ren's scar so that it matches 8 and 9. Y'all have some Vader's dialogue and new stuff for Kenobi, the models of the TIE Fighter, my shot of that I've been working on for Attack at Starkiller Base.
Oh, we got the Webbish Bog on there as well.
Oh yeah, that's way down here, but yeah, there's almost endless scrolling with you guys. I've been with y'all for a couple of months, and I haven't been able to find the bottom of this list.
Yeah, I think we try to post multiple times a week. Obviously, a lot of this depends on artist workload and because you also have to keep in mind that we all work full-time jobs in addition to doing this stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, so it really is dependent on when the VFX artists get stuff done. But most of our guys are really good about sharing new updates. You saw about the scar. That was one of the big issues we have with the going from 7 to 8 is you see that Kylo Ren's scar has moved quite a bit, and so we've actually gone and re-edited it so that his scar is now where it's supposed to be in episode 7. Yeah, like the Camino and cloners that are being added throughout episode 9. Some of that footage was shown on there. Yeah, we show all kinds of stuff on there, man. And we also answer questions, and you guys send us messages, and we can chat about whatever you want to chat about over there. Have y'all seen this guy on Reddit who's adding all sorts of VFX to Kenobi and changing the Inquisitor's looks and adding stuff to Mapuzo? He actually worked on Andor. He actually worked on Andor. If he's worked on Andor, then he's no longer working on it. Because one of the big things about Disney is that you are forbidden to work on any fan projects whatsoever. It's considered a conflict of interest. So, for example, we have an individual who has worked with Disney that's working with us, but we can't release his name and we can't use his name in anything because the mouse might have a freak attack about it. But yeah, no, I know one of the guys that's working to add some VFX to Kenobi. You're looking at it right now. His name's Mad Dog. And then we've got some other guys that are working on our cut of Kenobi's note. But I haven't seen the Pixel Joker stuff. Definitely would like to check that out, though. Yeah, Mapuzo did need some stuff adding to. I don't know about you guys, but the whole look of Mapuzo just kind of felt real low budget. It seemed like they found some gravel factory out in like North Dakota and said, you know what, shoot here. Yeah.
Oh, I know. It took me a minute, but I think I know who they're talking about. Yeah, this guy did a really great job. I think he added a bunch of, like, where on Mapuzo you have like the one factory. I think he took that idea and just made it the entire backdrop.
That's a good idea.
Like factories everywhere. You see the giant steam things. I don't know what those are called. Steam things going about, and then you have a bunch of Imperial cargo shuttles just flying in and out, moving stuff around. Yeah. Because Obi-Wan says, like, now the Empire's tearing this place apart, but it's like the one factory in the background, and you're like, oh.
They're really torn it apart. Yeah, no, changing the Inquisitor's looks. Yeah, I mean, if they're making the Grand Inquisitor look more like the Grand Inquisitor, that'd be great. I mean, right now he looks like Senor Melonhead. Like they should have. I don't know how you messed that up. Like somebody had to have been like, hey, what do Palins look like? I don't know. Let's go look at episode 3. Okay, so it looks sort of like Coneheads. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna X the Conehead. Like who like signed off on that?
I don't know. And it's another thing where it's just like, there's like, it doesn't take much, and there's reference material out there. And there's a point where I think all Star Wars fans need to understand that there's going to be a disconnect between animation and live action.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like I'm sure you've seen the memes of like Count Dooku where they stretched out the live action like match.
Looks ridiculous.
Like, there's certain things that just need to be understood, like the size of Bane's hat was a little small, or just like you need to exaggerate those features just a little bit more, or else it looks weird.
But we do know what a Palin looks like in live action because they were all over episode 3, so that's the thing where they were like, well, I get your with the animation.
The reason I reference Cad Bane is because we also have Duros and
that's true.
Yeah. Like episode 4, go to the original. They're in the opening cantina shot.
Yeah. I don't know how they messed it up. I don't know. I don't know if it cost money or whatever. Tadashi Time. Hello there. Hello there, Tadashi Time. Hello, hello. Star Wars story. I personally wish Snoke and Plagueis were one and the same, considering this name was name dropped in Lucas's last Star Wars film he made. Even casual moviegoers may have remembered that line. Would have been better that Palpatine's failed master only resurfaces after his more powerful apprentice is dead. That would have been really, really cool. But then you'd have to kind of have to find some sort of like narrative thread onto how Plagueis began, ended up looking like Snoke, because obviously they're two different species.
Yeah.
I mean, you have like the whole idea of Palpatine sending his spirit to a clone, but it's the same species, right? So we actually don't know what Plagueis looks like in the new canon, because Disney has kind of just thrown everything to the wayside, haven't they? So, I mean, it would have been. I mean, honestly, it would have really been cool to have Plagueis be like the big bad, and then have like this massive reveal about how the entire time when Palpatine thought he was running stuff, he actually wasn't. Like Plagueis was behind the scenes manipulating Palpatine the whole time to give Palpatine the illusion of like being in charge and having freedom of choice to do whatever he wants. But in reality, Plagueis is the big bad, right? Because that would tie the prequels and the sequels really well. Here's a guy you heard about in episode 3, and now you find out about him here.
Yeah, you got this in the Aftermath novel. There's the Aftermath trilogy that hinted at Palpatine like sensing something way out in the unknown regions. And my theory before episode 9 revealed Snoke to be a clone was that he was going to be some dark side user that was just like waiting for the Sith to die. So he considered himself like above a Sith or something. And when Palpatine died, he's like, oh, I can move in now. The territory is, the king has been overthrown, so I can move in. I've always thought that would be a cool idea. If there's some force in the unknown regions just waiting for the Sith to go away because they see the Sith as the biggest threat and they can accomplish their goals, but once the Sith are eliminated, they can move in.
Yeah. He would have been a really cool addition to have. And I know J.J. Abrams said, well, the what did he say? He said what when he was talking about 9, he said, what type of story do you have where the final chapter has nothing else to do with like the original villain or like earlier chapters in the book or whatever. I mean, if that was the argument he was making, then Plagueis would have been perfect to bring in there, tie it up, but he didn't. So
the biggest thing I heard against Plagueis would be like he doesn't do anything to these new characters, but that doesn't really matter. Like it doesn't matter that Rey, he's like, I am Darth Plagueis. Like
yo
says that,
well,
hey, what's up? As soon as he said I was Palpatine's master, that's what matters.
Hey, so Lou, we were just talking about how it would have been cool to have Plagueis in the sequel trilogy.
Yeah. I mean, why bother setting him up in the prequels, and why bother even mentioning him, and why bother introducing Snoke, who is really a nothing character?
Yeah.
I think it'd have been amazing to show Plagueis in some kind of way. Yeah. Absolutely.
So for everybody who's on the stream right now, this is Lou. He's one of our VFX artists. He's the guy behind the remasking of Kylo Ren. Well, part of the remasking of Kylo Ren. Also him and then Ben over at Praxis. He's done a lot of work. He was the guy that did the floating stones for Luke. All kinds of stuff, really. You've how many shots have you done now, man? Like,
yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot of shots.
It seems to be more every week, doesn't it? So.
Yeah, it keeps growing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So let's see what else. What else are they saying here? Who's your Palpatine voice actor, by the way? Because I'm absolutely in love with your Reed dub. Oh, yeah. So the voice actor for Palpatine is gonna be a guy named Kevin Urban. So if you guys ever watch like Tyrone Magnus on YouTube, they did like a little skit where Tyrone was Vader and and Kevin was Palpatine. He's actually really versatile. He also does our Snoke voice as well, which is important because in our edits, it's no secret here. Snoke is actually Palpatine. So he did a lot of the voices for that stuff. What else has he voiced? I don't think he's voiced anything else, has he? No, I don't know. I mean, we use him a lot. We had a guy named, I think his name was Mark Austin, who did Luke. I think who else we've had do voicings. I mean, there's actually quite a few now. We've had so many people do voicings. Actually, also, Kevin also did the Vader redub for Kenobi, which we have not posted on YouTube, but he did that as well. So I like the Ninja Chris 77 says hello. Hello, Ninja Chris. I like the idea of Snoke Plagueis absorbing Force energy from other Force users in order to heal his wounds, and maybe that could be the reason of his look being so human-like. I don't know, just ideas. So sort of like the reverse thing where Rey heals people instead he just sucks Force energy from them, sort of like a Force vampire. Has that been done somewhere in the canon, like old canon maybe?
So you have Darth Bane's essence transfer, and obviously if even in the old canon, it's in the new canon with Palpatine in Episode 9 when he absorbs the life energy of Rey and Kylo Ren. So you have that. And then, I mean, the same explanation for Plagueis could go for Palpatine. Like, the canon is that while Palpatine fell down the shaft, he was able to transfer his essence to a clone body on the dark side planet.
Yeah, Exegol, yeah.
Exegol. And the same thing could be said for Plagueis. I don't know why it wouldn't. I mean, if they both cracked the way to stay alive forever, and if that's what it is it's transferring your life to a clone body, then Plagueis would have a clone body in place to transfer his essence to. Yeah. And who's like I think I could be wrong. So in the Darth Bane trilogy, spoilers for the very end of the trilogy, but Darth Bane tries to transfer his essence into his apprentice. But I mean, they're two different genders. Like, she's a woman, but he was still trying to do that. So it's like,
Palpatine and Rey are two different genders.
What?
Palpatine and Rey are two different genders.
Yeah, there you go. It's like, so it's like, if you can do genders, I guarantee you could do species. So he could essence into a human body.
Maybe.
So,
speaking of like cloning and stuff, Lou, what was your idea for Luke's hand?
Yeah, so don't ask me what like issue it is because I'm not sure, but I know that there was a recent comic book that was released, and I think that Darth Vader kind of goes to Exegol, and they sort of, I don't think they outright say it, but they kind of heavily imply that Luke's severed hand from Empire Strikes Back is kind of still in the ownership of the Empire, and that they're using it to they're using the either the energy from it or the DNA from it or both to kind of create, I guess, new life, or to give that life the Force power or something similar to that. They don't go into kind of major detail. I think they leave it a little bit ambiguous.
Yeah, it's implied that it's like the building blocks of their they're gonna use midichlorians or whatever in the hand.
Yeah. So because in Rise of Skywalker we kind of don't get anything in terms of that. I mean, it's obviously that hand's never shown, even though it is on Exegol. It's never shown. And we don't really get any answer really to Snoke other than that just Palpatine made him. And yeah, I mean, it's not a lot's explained. It kind of makes sense to me. And we've spoken about it, haven't we, that it would be really cool to show that hand in some kind of capacity. And I think that not only would it tie in with the comic books, and not only would it kind of kind of extend to the extended media, but I think it would give a really good answer and be able to allow people to kind of piece it together. Oh, well, that makes sense. That's Luke's hand. I think that would make a lot of sense in the movie, and I think that it would be better than us kind of just saying, well, this is the answer straight up. I think it's cool for people to be able to see, oh, well, I can see this in the background, and if you pause it here, then you can actually see this over here. I think that'd be really fun for people to be able to do that. So
what species was it? Ricotta was the species you were trying to add in there as well?
That's a good question. I can't remember what their name is. But there's I think it's let me look that up because it's going to annoy me what they're called.
Yeah, the ones from Kotar, then it's the ricotta.
Yeah, ricotta.
Yeah. We wanted to show them as well, didn't we? Because they, as far as I'm aware, in the extended media that they were in, I think they had a lot of background in terms of like experimentation with force powers and being able to transfer force energies and stuff like that. So I think, again, it's these little details that we can put into the background of things and not make them like a major shot, but kind of just piece little answers together that people can kind of say, oh, that makes sense. Or, I know that thing. And it's really cool that they included that because that's from the Knights of the Old Republic or whatever it is. I think that'll be really cool.
That's kind of weird.
Cool that you have that eye for adding stuff like that because that's exactly what George did to make this world just feel so alive. Like even if you look at like Revenge of the Sith and you were actually paying attention to like all the background clone troopers like in battle, they're all doing something unique.
Yeah,
adds to the story.
Yes, I mean, it makes it so that you could watch our versions of the movies and you could watch them again and again, and there's probably 10 times that you'll watch it and see just something different every time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool experience.
It's so bizarre if you look at when you look at episode 9, right? And you also, I mean, that's why we had to add the cloners, right? Because you look at the whole prequels revolves around this idea of clones being, then put into battle to fight, for the Republic. And then it's mentioned even in the original trilogy. It just seems like, why would Palpatine not go back to Kaminoans or Ricottas and bring them in? There should be something there that, hey, wow, this all ties back in, but they just didn't do that. So
yeah, I think that I think, to be honest, that the sequel trilogy seemed a little bit scared to just kind of include the prequels. It seemed like they kind of avoided them as much as they possibly could do, which is a shame. Because I think that there's so much in the prequel movies that just kind of makes sense for the sequels and give them context that they were either they were too scared to or they didn't think to include those details. But
yeah. I mean, it does seem that way, doesn't it? I think a lot of it probably was that when Disney had bought, Star Wars from Lucas, the whole reason Lucas was selling it was because Lucas was under the impression that people didn't like his stuff,
Yeah.
And so I think Disney was like, oh, well, we'll buy this and we'll use that to the least amount possible, But oh well. How will you explain how Maz got Anakin's lightsaber? That's not something we're really looking into. The film hasn't explained it. The comics haven't explained it. As of right now, and as far as the Disney canon is explained, it's not explained anywhere really.
So the most we have of that story is we know an Ugnaught picked it up. So there's a comic series running right now. It's still running, and Luke, Lando, and Leia travel back to Bespin, and Luke goes on a journey where he kind of learns a Jedi isn't their weapon. The weapon is a part of a Jedi, so I can build my own weapon or go and get a new weapon. I don't need the same one. And he has conflicting feelings because it's my dad's Darth Vader. That was my dad's lightsaber. But basically, the last panel shows an Ugnaught picking it up, and we can assume he probably sells it from there.
Yeah.
Don't think it's as interesting of a story as I would want it to be right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's probably more interesting questions to answer. Ninja Chris says, how do you like this idea in episode 8 after Kylo cuts Snoke in half and both Rey and Kylo are unconscious on the ground after the ship splits? You see Snoke sucking his body back together and walking towards them, and then he sucks out enough force energy to get him back to up. He then leaves the place and dips to Exgol to ready up for the last strike. That sounds incredibly expensive.
I mean, that would be pretty awesome. I see the potential with it, and then you effectively, like, Palpatine doesn't return, right? You just VFX over Palpatine for Snoke.
Yeah.
And he would be the main villain of the entire sequel trilogy. And at least having a main villain throughout all three would be pretty cool. But yeah, that would take a ton of work.
Yeah.
Palpatine episode 9 quite a bit.
I mean, you'd have to refilm like half the scenes with Ren and Rey, and then it's not just filming that against the green screen. It's also then just the CGI, the compositing, all of it, the deep fake that's required to go in there. Like, it's going to be that's ridiculous.
For someone who's brave enough to tackle that job.
Yeah. I mean, if that was an idea we had maybe like 2 years ago when we started, it might have been something that we could potentially work to. But at this point, there's so much work done on 9 already. Yeah. And also, the fact that that Anakin returns and destroys and Palpatine, we need Palpatine to be there. So they can destroy the Sith finally. Where do you guys film? I'm from the UK, and I am having trouble finding cosplayers. Any tips? So we filmed the fight between Luke and Ren down in San Antonio, Texas, actually, with Mike Starwalker. Sorry. The sequences with Jaina are going to be filmed in Denmark, up there with the guys from Freeze the Frame. And then everything else we're going to be filming in England. So we're going to be building a studio out there to film that. As far as finding cosplayers, we don't find cosplayers. For all the stuff we have shot already, we've actually bought screen accurate outfits, and then we hire like good actors. Cosplayers tend to, unless they spend a ton of money, depending on who it is, either their outfits look really, really good or they look really, really cheap. And then sometimes when you get something on camera, if it was cheap to begin with, it looks even cheaper on camera. So you really have to spend a lot of money making sure that it's a quality costume. So like for Kylo Ren, I think that outfit for the episode 8 duel was like $600 or $700 just for that. I don't remember the exact amount. I know the lightsaber for Ren was over $500, and it was because it was screen accurate. And so, if you want to have it look screen accurate, unfortunately there's a high cost associated with that unless you're making stuff by yourself. But if you can sew, I can't. If you can, then power to you. Yeah, well, I get it. I'm not vibing with the whole Palps coming back thing for some reason. But obviously, as a team, we've talked about that, and our goal with that was to foreshadow Palpatine earlier on in the films. So,
it's less of an episode 9 fix and more of a trilogy fix, because they added in last minute, whereas our Palpatine is referenced and being foreshadowed throughout 7, 8, so that when he comes, it's a promise that we're delivering on instead of like, oh, we ran out of ideas.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, even in 7, I think Rey says something to the effect of like, because she's asking Han about the Jedi and all that, and and Han's telling her all this stuff, and then she says, well, what about the Emperor? Did he really survive, right? And that kind of shows like, hey, there's this rumor going around, And actually, Lou did some VFX work. Nobody has caught it yet. We released that trailer on May 4th, and not a single person has found the Easter egg about Palpatine being alive. Not a single one, not one. But there's an Easter egg in the trailer, and basically, the idea is that there's this rumor going out there, probably stemming from Operation Cinder, but there's this rumor going out there that somehow Emperor Palpatine has survived. Where he is, nobody knows. And what he's doing, nobody knows. But there's this rumor that he survived. And so that right there is sort of like the building blocks of like, well, did he survive or he didn't survive? Why would Rey bring that up unless there's something going on there, right? And then as the trilogy progresses, there's more and more hints that maybe Palpatine is alive. And actually, you'll know Palpatine's alive before the end of Episode 8. So it's really, really built up so that when 9 comes, it doesn't just slap you in the face with Palpatine. Like, it's actually, you kind of, it's built to that. All right. Thanks for the insight. I love your channel. Regarding Episode 9, are you bothered about official canon? Also, I wish we could see the scene between Kylo and Chewie in Episode 9, perhaps Ren. This is something we've talked about, isn't it?
Yeah, it's based off that concept art, and it's actually in the novelization of Episode 9 too, where we get to see Kylo Ren interrogate Chewbacca, and he does the whole mind trick thing where he like influences someone's mind, and then instead of seeing like Chewie being angry with him, he just sees like visions of Chewie being Uncle Chewie from his past. That's all in the novelization, which makes me think it was filmed and it's a deleted scene somewhere. But yeah. I would love to try and bring that scene to life. I don't know if we have any plans to do that, but that would be a really cool scene to bring to life.
I mean, Lou, what would that take? I mean, obviously you'd have to get a really spot-on Chewbacca costume.
That's
difficult. Yeah, to get the costume on.
That one would be super difficult. We have. Then you could only shoot Ren. I mean, unless we're doing like a deep fake or any VFX for face.
Only from the back.
Yeah, you'd have to shoot it all from behind, and then maybe do flashbacks of like Kylo Ren as a kid, or even just like voices. I don't know.
And also because that sequence is already in the film, so whatever set we would build or whatever, we'd have to model it on that.
Yeah, the interrogation scene, that whole set design is in the film. Like where he's chained up, that's where Poe and Finn go and save Chewie.
Yeah. Let's see here. Are you guys in possession of an Anakin Episode 3 costume? I need a close-up of his glove holding something for an edit. No, we don't have that right now. We haven't shot any of the footage for Anakin right now for Episode 3 or Episode. We wouldn't even need an Anakin Episode 3. Anakin's outfit in Episode 9 is not it's not his Episode 3 outfit. At this point he's redeemed, so he doesn't have that, and so we wouldn't have any use for a Anakin Episode 3 costume, unfortunately.
Yeah. At the end of Episode 6, he's got a different costume on, hasn't he? He's got like more of a normal kind of Jedi costume. So
yeah, so it wouldn't make sense to film it like that.
Yeah, the Alec Guinness look in Episode 4 than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he says there's only 2 ways to tie it all together. Either you go the Palpatine route and add Hens to the 2 films, or the Snoke route and remove Palps entirely. Yeah, and removing Palps entirely means filming new scenes, and that's also very expensive. So, Brad Clark, are you aware of Lucas's original plan for the sequels? Yeah, we actually discussed that earlier in the stream about Maul coming back, being like the sort of crime lord, Darth Talon being involved. It sounds fantastic. Not sure why Disney would say no to that. Makes zero sense.
That doesn't really work with the continuity as is, but maybe if you replace Darth Maul with a different Sith.
Well, it would have worked if they had done it, because he was written prior to Disney buying that. At that point, Maul hadn't been killed at the hands of Kenobi in the desert, right? He was still walking around in the Clone Wars. So
they could have just like kept his upbringing for Clone Wars as the crime lord. expanded on that later on.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what he was planning to do, and then Disney came in and said no. Il fan editore. Good evening from Italy, guys. How do you say hello in Italian?
I don't know.
Anybody know?
I speak Spanish, but not Italian.
Hello. I don't know.
You have to do this. Yeah.
But yeah. So does anybody have any questions? Like, is there any technical questions or anything like that? Lou is one of the MVPs for all kinds of VFX stuff. But yeah, Disney are hacks. That's why they chose not to follow Lucas. Lucas has been against Hollywood for years. It's true, Lucas has been against Hollywood for years. Yeah, I mean that's why he took a break from directing for so long. But yeah, just out of curiosity, so everybody knows, for any of the fan editors that are watching or the artists, what programs do we use for the big VFX stuff? Blender, obviously, and what else?
After Effects. Premiere is our main editing engine, I think, or program. Go for it.
I'm trying to get into Nuke because Nuke is a huge one. So I think that could benefit us a lot. As far as I'm aware, Nuke is kind of procedurally generated, kind of similar to Houdini. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so I think if we can have something like that kind of in the arsenal, then that would be really cool.
Yeah, like one of those, if you learn that program, then you can also learn Houdini. Is that like the idea?
I think I'd say so because it's kind of a similar idea. So I'd say that if you can learn one, you can kind of cross over into the other.
Are they both node based?
Are they both what? Sorry.
Node based. I know Houdini is nodes. I haven't heard.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Unreal. I've been learning Unreal Engine 5. I don't want to use that for a ton of shots, but if we need to produce something last minute or like something super fast that looks really clean.
Yeah. I mean, EbSynth or EBSynth or however you pronounce it is a weird little software. I don't think it's like many other things at the moment, but it kind of helps sometimes. I mean, it's not perfect by any means, and it's not kind of ideal for a lot of things. But I think if you want very small little changes and stuff, then EbSynth is pretty cool to get into.
Yeah.
Oh, and I forgot to mention this to you, but the studio I work at here in Texas, we're buying a video wall, like not as big as the volume, but a video wall for.
Oh, one of those.
Yeah. So, and they said I could use it for our projects.
Nice.
So all I have to do is allocate hours and try and and I would have to learn Unreal to build our scenes and our backdrops and whatnot, but we might want to talk about that more later. And I need to coordinate with them, see how much that would cost us, but I'm sure we could work something out with them.
Am I right in thinking that a video wall is what they use on like The Mandalorian and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's
volume. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's
really
interesting. Cool. So we asked, sorry if you've answered this already, but how many of the 3 sequels are you fixing? We're doing all of them, plus Solo. So a lot of that's why it's taking so long, because it's hello is Chow around, dude. How did we not know that?
I mean, we did in the back of our minds. We did know. It's just when you're on stream or when you're asked a question directly, sometimes you just I don't know if this happens.
Brain doesn't work.
Else, but I always end up being dumber when I'm thing straight up if I'm not on camera.
My brain is not working today. Says, what would you guys consider to be your biggest change you've made so far? It can be a specific effect, a story change. What would you guys consider as the biggest change so far?
The sequels were bad, and now I guess for myself, it was the biggest thing is the Starkiller base battle that I've been working on. That's been the biggest VFX thing I've been working on.
What's your biggest change, Lou? What do you think is the biggest change so far?
Like you said earlier, I mean, there's so many that it's kind of, what's the biggest one? I don't know. I'm not sure, man. I mean, I guess personally, I think the biggest challenge, and this kind of goes way back to when we first spoke, is making Camino.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Camino.
Camino is it's making a brand new environment, so that's a pretty big one. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's a hard question to answer because there's so many changes now, and there's probably so many more changes in the next few months that we've kind of thought of that. I mean, the movies are just going to feel completely different. It's like everything about them is different.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of changes I know that the opposite of adding, probably the thing that adds the most weight is the stuff that's taken out, you know?
Yeah.
When you have stuff like I mean, this was in another episode 8 edit, the one we're referencing as our like groundwork.
The Ortega cut?
Yeah, the Ortega cut. Thank you. Where he fixes Hux just by removing like the Joe Mama joke.
Yeah.
You know, like that adds so much value to that character just by taking something out instead of adding something in.
I think for me the biggest change would be Rey, because in episode 7, in the film she's portrayed a bit, or in the original cut she's portrayed, how would you put this? Sort of like a know-it-all, and with the cuts we've made, the change we've made to 7, Rey's no longer a know-it-all. She's sort of still trying to figure things out, which is when the original cut she sort of already has it all figured out. I think the idea that Rey is the reason, like Rey kills her parents accidentally, I think that becomes like her biggest hurdle to kind of go over, because her whole life is spent waiting on these parents, waiting for them to come back. And then when the realization hits her that like she's the reason her parents are gone, I think that's, like with the edits, we had to find a way to sort of break Rey, because when you're that arrogant, as I view her as quite arrogant in the original cuts of the films, you have to find a way to kind of knock them down a notch. And I think that is really sort of how we knocked her down a notch here. I think also little changes, like in the film when she confronts Snoke, she says, you've underestimated Luke Skywalker and Ben Solo and me. Well, the and me's been removed, because she doesn't see herself as a threat to Snoke because she's not there yet. I think building Rey as from kind of like this like know-it-all, Mary Sue, never has anything bad happen to her, always wins type stuff, and actually giving her faults, I think improves her character. I also think making Ren more of a villain, I think that's also been a really massive change too, because like especially in the interrogation sequence, which we haven't released yet, but and Lou's still working on it, but the interrogation sequence and the way that the dialogue is placed in there, it makes Ren more of like a palpable villain that is sort of almost on the level of Vader. And instead of Rey like sort of back talking and like, going back and forth with Ren, she's largely intimidated by him in this sequence, which I think, again, that's vital to like their portrayal as characters. It shows you where they are. So for me, that's the biggest change, I think.
I think it's really important for people to know that everything that they didn't like about the sequels is being addressed. Like, I think people have said in these comments that they're not really a fan of Palpatine returning. because it doesn't make sense, or because it wasn't explained, or because it feels like it's out of nowhere, or they don't like Rey because she's a Mary Sue, or because, you know, A, B, or C reason. And I think it's important for people to know that while we are keeping those characters in, the reason that you don't like them is not in. That's fixed. So, you know, I mean, every kind of major character like Rey, Kylo, Palpatine, they're different because there was problems, and those problems are addressed. And I don't think people would feel the same way if they watched our versions of the movies first.
I mean, Lou's right. I mean, we kind of QC. I think, I mean, each one of us has seen the cut of 7 now, like 2 or 3 times now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mean, we QC the stuff with each other, and then, you know, and we're also, you know, communication is key for the project. So, you know, if Lou doesn't like something, he says it. If I don't like something, I say it. You know, if Mad Dog doesn't like something, he says it. And then basically we have this checks and balances system in place so that, you know, hey man, I have this really great idea. Yeah, I know that shit. Like,
well, I probably get to the point where I'm probably super annoying about it, and I need to check myself sometimes. But you know, I'm on like the continuity train where I'm like,
yeah,
like you mentioned Camino the other day, and I'm like, Bad Batch blew that up. So
no, Bad Batch blew up to Poca City. Didn't blow up.
Yeah, that's true. It blew up to Poca City, not all of Camino. So
exactly. See, yeah.
But that's exactly how we work. Is we'll go back and forth on things like that.
Let's see here. Is there a way to make Finn a Jedi, even if it's only in something for like the ending scenes? Give him a lightsaber. Probably not. And the reason for that is that to do that, we would need dialogue. And I'll be damned if we can't find a single, like, no joke, actual good John Boyega voice impressionist. We did have some ideas for some additional Finn dialogue, but we cannot find anybody to do a convincing Finn voice. It's been really kind of difficult. We have a number of avenues for searching for voice actors. We'll post things like on Facebook voice acting groups. We will look up voice actors on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, and we go everywhere trying to find somebody that could do his voice. But so far, there's people that are close, but it's just not there yet. And so, we can't really commit to doing anything extra with Finn without first having a voice actor that we know will be able to actually support whatever changes we make. So,
and if we do find that voice actor, I know you and I have talked about this, but we have a pretty cool idea of completing his story arc where Finn was greatly ignored in episode 9 as someone who just chases Rey around. And I remember leaving the theater, and that was my first thing, is like, Finn didn't get to say what he wanted to say. And well, I think we're removing that. We are going to complete Finn's story arc in episode 9.
Would be nice to see Maz in action, maybe through some stop motion or something. I'm not sure we could do that. We do have a fix for some stuff regarding Maz in episode 8. But as far as like in action, I don't know because if we were to do something that's only stop motion, then you would absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, be able to tell the difference between stop motion Maz and CG Maz. So it would kind of take you out of the film or something like that. Maybe the Lego voice actor for Finn, if he's allowed to. They wouldn't be allowed to, man. It's conflict of interest. Anytime you do anything with Disney, you're contractually obligated not to take on any fan type stuff, except with approval from Disney, and Disney won't approve anything, man. They're pretty vicious about stuff like that. That's kind of how they roll, unfortunately. I mean, like I said, we've got voice actors that we can't even tell who they are, and they do phenomenal work for us, and we can't even bring up what their name is, because if we do, Disney will torpedo their career. So we make every intent, anytime that we get somebody from like that side of the fence, who is, you know, hitting us up and asking to be involved and asking for confidentiality. If they're involved, you know, we absolutely have to honor that, because they're kind of risking stuff to help us out. So, yeah,
And that
it
kind of
sucks.
How much people want to see these fan edits is like there are people, we do have people that work with me that are like job security to see this play out and to see this project finished.
Yeah, it's pretty it's humbling to have people like that are involved in that type of stuff, you know, message us and talk to us and that type of thing. But like I said, we really have to be we have to honor those agreements with them and not share who they are. So, not a question, but an appreciation comment. As a fellow fan editor on a way more basic level with a ROTJ edit, I have nothing but complete admiration for a group with a cohesive view and goal. Oh, well, thanks, man. Yeah, we talk about this stuff all the time. I mean, we have a group chat where we talk shit to each other.
True, all the time.
Yeah. But yeah, no, and then we're constantly sending each other ideas and stuff, and I mean, yeah, like Lou just had a really cool idea the other day. Can't mention it because we may not be able to do it, but we might be able to do it. Not really sure, but like, you know, he had this awesome idea about kind of an explanation for how Snoke got the scar on his head. It's pretty cool. If we can figure out a way to work it in, it'd be great. I just don't know how to do it yet.
Yeah.
Have you thought a way to get that in, by the way, yet? Like,
I mean, I've been thinking about it. There's got to be a way. I think what I need to do is go back and watch all 3 movies again, and
figure out where you
take little notes of, oh, it can be here or it could be here, or
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Snoke. Again, I think it's in a comic book where Snoke kind of hints that he got this scar, and it, you know, it wasn't just made that way. And I think in Rise of Skywalker, when they're all in that test tube, they do have that scar. So it's a bit of a difficult one. But if we can manage to pull off the idea, then yeah, I think it's really cool, personally.
Yeah.
But still working on that.
I can help brainstorm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we've told you about this yet, but he had a phenomenal idea, and it's really cool. And it would look so sick. Sick. I'll send you. You can probably just send the mock-up that you did, but he did a mock-up, and it's like, that's a cool idea, you know.
Yeah, I mean, but the mock-up is not. It's not a pretty thing to look at. I'll say that, but you get the idea.
Most mock-ups are not pretty.
No.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's important to have like a cohesive story and a direction of where you want to go and what we want to do, and we all know where we're going, and we all know where it ends up and how we get there. And then it's really, you know, anything that we do bring up that's like this, for example, this whole explanation for Snoke Scar, anything that we bring up, it's always like, okay, that's a great idea. How do we implement that, and does it make sense, or are we just shoehorning it in? Like, there's got to be a reason for it, right? So a lot of those conversations we have revolve around like, here's a great idea, and can we make it work? And if so, how do we implement it? That type of thing. Are y'all wanting to make Lando have more of a better role in either Rise of Skywalker or the trilogy overall? Probably not. The reason for that is Billy D. Williams is an incredibly old gentleman now at this point in time, and he just doesn't act anymore. And so if we were to do something with Lando, it'd have to be older Lando. And in order to get a really, really, really convincing deep fake, you need about an hour's worth of footage, all kinds of different directions, the head's looking and all that, you know. Unfortunately, you know, I don't think there's an hour's worth of footage there in episode 9 of Lando. But yeah, so, you know, if we were to do that, we'd have to hire an actor that probably wouldn't look like him, and the deep fake wouldn't be very good. So probably not going to add any more Lando into Rise of Skywalker or the trilogy overall. Might be able to name drop Lando somewhere from Han, maybe, but I don't know about showing him. Maybe like, I don't know, in 7, you know, we could name drop Lando or something like that. or do like a callback, like, yeah, we got to get a hold of Lando, and then Rey can be like, Lando system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I don't know. Are you going to do a fixed version of The Phantom Menace? A movie with beautiful ideas but probably needs the most fixing of all, in my opinion. I personally don't see any problem with Phantom Menace. I love it, to be honest with you. Lou, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, how long ago did Phantom Menace come out now? Over 20 years ago?
99, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 1999.
So about 22, 23 years.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of criticisms for that movie, like a lot. And I think that everything that could ever be said about that film has been said. And, you know, I think we've moved into a time now where people are starting to appreciate the prequel a little bit more. And to look back on them and kind of think, well, yeah, they had some really cool ideas. And I also don't really see what we could do to make the Phantom Menace kind of worth watching, I guess, in people's eyes that really do not like the film. Because at the end of the day, it has to set up the remaining the 8 films after that, like episodes. So I think if we were to mess with the Phantom Menace too much or to change too much, then it would set a course to kind of change the rest of the movies. And I also think that if we don't really change that much and we kind of keep it all as it should be, we shouldn't probably edit it whatsoever.
I mean, there's been a ton of, like, there was the Phantom edit. Like, there's been a ton of edits of that film. I don't know what we could do to be any different, you know?
Yeah. The only thing I've seen, and this is so tiny, there's one shot in the Phantom Menace that always bugs me of VFX of the lightsabers, where every other scene the lightsabers have motion blur except for this one, and you can like see that they're on sticks and they have no motion blur at all. That'd be the only scene I can think of right away. And then outside of that, you have all the shots that like with Jar Jar, especially where the pacing just goes from A to B to A to B to C, and it just jumps from a joke, serious moment, another joke, a establishing shot, then another intense scene. It really jumps around to where you could reorganize it without changing up the story too much, but it's something that I feel a lot of fan editors have tackled. I'm not gonna say it's. I have a edit of the Phantom Menace that I have done, and I've added just very bare minimum VFX to it, but nothing dramatic. Just really taking out Jar Jar stuff.
I mean, I think the only real reason to edit Phantom Menace would be to really solidify the Darth Jar Jar aspect, and then you edit the rest of the 9 films with Darth Jar Jar. Like, he is, you know, like Misa the dark side now, you know, like that type of thing. And we just spend like hundreds of thousands of dollars retooling all 9 episodes to be about Darth Jar Jar. That's what I would want to do. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think that's the best idea we've ever.
That's probably Cinema and Ghost Productions has just changed our whole outlook. That's what we're gonna do, man. We're gonna the Darth Jar Jar saga. To be phenomenal. I don't know. Yeah. Which, oh, by the way, we do have a Darth Jar Jar Easter egg in episode 9 on Exegol. You know, gotta represent Darth Jar Jar. But yeah, no, I mean, right now, for us as a team, everybody is pretty much of the opinion that we, you know, the prequels are starting to become, you know, as universally loved as the original trilogy was. And I mean, really, even if you're not really a fan of certain portions of the prequels or of the original trilogy, if you watch those 6 movies as a whole, it's pretty evident that there was a story there that was planned from the beginning. And yeah, George might have changed a few things, but it's pretty evident that, like, hey, this is one cohesive story. And then you get to 7 and it just kind of falls off a cliff. So the idea is to kind of bring it back so that when you are watching 1 through 9, it does feel like one cohesive story written by one person. You know, it's hard to do, but yeah. Regarding the prequels, is there anything, without spoiling, you could tell us about the connections your edits will have to the prequels? Yeah. Well, we already talked about the cloners.
Yeah.
You're gonna see Kamino and cloners in the sequels.
I mean, this we're bringing Naboo.
Yeah, Naboo's gonna be back in 2 films.
Mm-hmm. I'm working on prequel inspired ships. So like a ship that you saw in the prequels that's being updated, that's on the Subscribe Star.
Yep. We've done, like Lou talked about, Kamino, right? You're gonna see Kamino in there.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few sort of planet appearances, isn't there? At least a couple that.
Anakin is obviously gonna be back. And if you've watched like kind of like the updated vision from Rey on from Episode 7, you'll see that Anakin is in there. You'll hear Rey, or you'll hear Padme yell Anakin and all that. So yeah, there's definitely going to be some pretty. That's one of the things one of the goals we had too, wasn't it, fellas? Was really making sure that the prequels had more of a presence in the sequel trilogy, so that it feels like a wholly connected universe.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so that's basically something that we really worked on hard, was to make sure that we had a big connection with the prequels. So
I mean, in the trailer on YouTube, you can see the Nexu, in the
that's right,
on the mantelpiece.
Oh yeah. You also have,
forgot about that.
Even references to the newer prequels like Rogue One and Solo. Like,
oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And I think there's another Easter egg in that trailer that still hasn't been seen yet. I mean, it's the smallest thing, but it's in the Nexus shot as well. So I can understand why people.
Yo, that's right. I forgot. I forgot you put that in there. That's two Easter eggs. We're going on 3 months, and nobody's found this stuff yet.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the big clue is that one of them is in the Nexus shot, but it's not the Nexus. So
yeah, you're gonna have to really, really look hard for that.
yeah.
But so yeah, that's basically what we're knocking out. What time is it now, guys? It's almost time to get out of here.
Different places, so.
Oh yeah, what time is it over where you're at? It's like what, like 2 o'clock in the afternoon?
I have 2:46.
Oh, okay, I have 9:46. So that means you have 8:46.
8:46, yeah.
Yeah. So anybody else got any questions for what's that? Am I crazy, or did I see a portrait of Hondo? You might have seen a portrait of Hondo behind Rey in the trailer. That might have been done by Lou here, as a nod to the Clone Wars.
Yep. I mean, there's really Easter eggs in our edits to like every side of the Star Wars canon, isn't there? Like every aspect of it, even.
Isn't that painting in Battlefront 2 as well? So that's not even. Like it's something that is in Maz Kanata's castle canonically. She just get outside that.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think about it too. Like when he was talking about Maz Kanata's, being, basically like a harbor for, pirates and stuff. I mean, Hondo's like one of the most well-known, so why wouldn't they? And Hondo loves himself. He's like super conceited, so you can imagine he convinced Maz to hang up a portrait of himself, at his favorite table or something, just that's kind of the guy he is, so yeah, I mean, like, that's definitely an Easter egg there in the trailer. And there's plenty of small Easter eggs like that don't really encroach on the scene. But if you don't know, look for them. You're probably not gonna notice it. But if you do have a keen eye, you're probably gonna see a whole bunch of different Easter eggs throughout the trilogy. Yeah, a lot of them. So, does anybody else got any other questions for the team while we're here? We got about 10 more minutes, then we're probably gonna head on out of here. Any questions for Lou or Mad Dog or me? Crickets? We've answered all the questions.
Hey, I also wanted to mention to you guys, I mean, with the video wall, we also got our first anamorphic lens too. So I don't know if y'all know what that is. It's basically the same lenses that all the modern films shoot on, especially Mando and all of. It's the one that makes a pretty lens flare, so we can capture the same production value that the Rise of Skywalker and all the sequel trilogies have.
Yeah.
We want to.
Yeah, we're gonna make sure that that as best we can that everything that's newly shot is indistinguishable from the stuff that was shot by Disney. So in theory, you should be able to watch it without really clicking that you're watching footage that wasn't shot by Disney.
Yeah, I think I've seen comments by people on the channel that have they've sent us links or they've suggested certain people that can do work or certain people that can do voices or stuff like that. And like you said earlier, they're close, but it's not there. And I think, the idea is that, we're just going to hammer at it until it is there. So you can watch the film. It can completely replace your version of episode 7, 8, or 9, and you're not going to see different scenes and think, well, that's clearly added in. It's got to look seamless, and I think the same is for the voices and for everything. Really, it's just got to be right. It's got to be perfect, or as close to perfect as possible.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we're perfectionists,
no,
in that sense, but I would say that every attempt is being made to ensure that the voice acting, that the looks of the VFX, that everything is consistent. And so that also means that the VFX work that we're doing as a team probably takes a little bit longer than what you would normally expect, because we're going for a big budget studio look, and that takes a long time. Because you also got to remember, we're a team of like 7, 8 people, but ILM has thousands of people. They're rendering all these massive VFX shots. And so while the work for them can be rather quick, for us it does take a substantial amount of time. But we need to do that in order to make sure that it fits in, seamlessly with the footage that's already there. So, Ivexa Mirror City. I wish you get to see more of it in Tierra and Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, I know Avexia confused a lot of people. There was a lot of confusion about what type of planet that was. If there was 2 Millennium Falcons during that scene, it's an interesting location. That's one of those things though, where it's like, why did they throw that in there if we're never going to see it again? It's just sort of like, didn't make a lot of sense. Also, like that big green planet with the big sandworm, the dune looking thing. Like, why did they throw that in there? Like, it didn't. I don't know.
It's weird because Disney they went sort of left and right with planets, because you'll have like 5 desert planets that are all clearly Tatooine with a different name, and then on the other side you'll have a planet that's so out of left field that it's like nothing could ever live on that planet. It's just such a bizarre. Like, it's just you'll have a planet and it's just fog, it's just smoke, and it's not made of anything, and it's just weird stuff. They didn't seem to have the vision that George Lucas had with Geonosis and all the planets that he came up with in the prequels and the original trilogy. They were all so different to each other, and you can point it out easily. Well, that's that planet because it looks this way. Disney just seemed to be like, well, it's a desert.
Yeah, the planets really are missing an identity, I think, in the sequels. I think the ones that really stand out are Crate and Exegol. And Exegol because it's dark and dreary, and then Crate because of the red crystals. But apart from that, I mean, there's just really, you look at Takodana, that could be Endor. It could be a different portion of Endor,
or even
and then like stuff like you look at Starkiller, which could be Hoth, unless you know that it's Ilum. But nobody knows it's Ilum because you're not shown anything to tell you that it's Ilum. And Ilum has like a massive presence in the Clone Wars and all this other stuff. It's just weird decision making. It's just funky, isn't it?
I think Cantonica was also was a huge missed opportunity.
Oh, so, yeah.
With Canto Bight, you have all of these super wealthy people who, it's explained in the movie that they make their money on selling X-Wings and TIE fighters, right? But it's like no one cares about the war actively going on. They're all ignoring the war. I feel like they, as war profiteers, they would at least like be betting on like, or having bets on like, will the resistance survive against, like betting on who's gonna win, you know, like have maybe that kind of mindset. But they seem super indifferent to the galaxy.
Yeah, that's a good point. Infinite possibilities. Yeah, Agent Kloss did look like it could be part of Endor.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like when you look at it, like, I mean, like I hate to be that guy, but like Star Trek, when you look at the planet Star Trek visits, you know, a lot of this stuff is quite different, you know, in the newer films, not the older and the newer stuff, not the older stuff, but or even I don't know, Valerian in the City of a Thousand Worlds. Where that, remember that movie had what's his nuts in it? I forget. Dane DeHaan.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that had like even that had like just tons of creativity in the planets and stuff. It's just weird.
And it's like the creativity is so bogged down that like even an AI generator could be more creative than what Disney is doing with their planets. Like give it different features to make it just needs to, like, you have to make it just different enough from the last planet. So like when you have Jakku and Tatooine, like Jakku, it's almost as if they had the idea like this is going to be a junk planet, but they didn't commit to it. They decided more of a desert planet that has junk on it.
Yeah.
Versus like make it a ginormous junkyard. Like this is where the entire galaxy decides to throw away
dumpster trash. Yeah. Right. Or like Hosnian Prime, like when they created Hosnian Prime, and Hosnian Prime is essentially Coruscant with a red filter over it. Like it just, you know.
And like if you're going to introduce a planet that gets blown up, and you're not going to have someone who has stakes at that planet, Alderaan works so well because we felt a connection with Leia. You know, she lost her home. We felt bad because she lost her home, not because of up. And that's proof because we don't know what Hosnian Prime is, and it blows up, and we're like, oh, okay, that seems bad. But if you made it Coruscant, you know, it connects to the prequels, 1, and then 2, everyone who has watched those movies can have a visceral reaction of like, oh my gosh, that's the galactic like Senate. There are so many people who live there. We know of people who have lived there in the past.
To be fair, completely fair to J.J. Abrams, that's what he wanted to do, and Disney said no.
Yes, because they were going to say Episode 9 for, or Coruscant for Episode 9.
And then they didn't.
Colin Trevorrow's edit. But ultimately didn't execute that idea. And I think if you're going to save it for Episode 9, then still save it for Episode 9. I get it. You have to write a new script with JJ, but like, I would still commit to delivering on Coruscant.
Yeah, that's what I would have done too. All right, guys, so we're coming up on just near 2 hours of the live stream. Anybody else have any additional questions, comments, anything? This is not the whole team, by the way. In future live streams, we'll try to get some of the other team members on here as well. But anybody got any questions or anything else? Bitches, gripes, complaints? No? All right. You guys got anything you want to say before we head out?
I'm good.
I just say that
I'm excited to show everyone what we've been working on. It's so cool us three being able to talk to it, but to be able to show everyone what we've been working on is going to be really exciting.
Yeah,
really exciting.
I keep speaking to my family or my friends when I'm out with them and kind of saying, look, you know, you've seen fan edits before, you get the idea with it, but you've never seen a fan edit with this much kind of in it. I mean, we've been editing these movies for so long now. The amount that's gone into it and the amount that's going into it is crazy. And everything that we've said today, I'm sure there'll be an equal amount more to say next time. I think, you know, in a few months we'll be speaking about a whole different bunch of ideas that we've come up with that are really cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And as for me, I just want to thank everybody for all their support. Because, you know, as we've been doing this for, I think we started March of, what year were we in? 2022? Yeah. We started this in March of 2020. small little channel, not paid a whole lot of attention. And obviously all you viewers and all subscribers that have come to the channel, obviously you guys are a huge blessing to us. We really appreciate your attention and the time that you spend watching our videos and commenting, interacting with us. So thank you so much for all your guys' support and for being patient with us as we get these films all knocked out and get them ready to go. So if you have any questions or comments, you can always email us, fixingdisneystarwars@yahoo.com. And obviously also for instant messages and all that stuff and the exclusive content, you can look us up over there at Subscribestar. Either way, though, thanks so much for y'all's time and thanks so much for y'all's support. And we will catch you guys on the next live stream. So until then, may the force be with you. All right. Have a good one, guys.